I'm back with another fantasy team review. This week we moved a little bit in the right direction and only gained about 20 spots, but that's alright. My plan was just to hold around this rank until the buys and hopefully climb by then. When I left you guys, I said I was going to go Chase Jones to Bailey Smith and Jaden Hunt to Matt Kennedy. I decided very late to change to Ben Hobbs just because there was uncertainties with Matt Kennedy's role, and once Hewitt got subbed on, he actually struggled quite a bit. I don't think he had any CBAs in the second half, so not sure what that role is going to look like in the upcoming weeks, even though Carlton have a very good run. So it should be interesting. Definitely keeping my eye on that one. I decided to go Hobbs, even though it didn't really improve my buy structure just because it was a little bit of less risk, and even though he might not be getting those CBAs, those high amounts of CBAs, he's still a person that's able to score. And my idea is just to hold him until round 14 when he had his bye. Even though Jane Hunt ended up going pretty well, he saved his score. He was looking very awful before that. I think he made it to 8 in the end, which was very surprising because he was struggling big time. He still didn't make his break even, so he would have been a trade this week anyway. Same with Chase Jones. I think, you could have held him for one more. He would have been a trade this week as well. But it would just allowed me to get to Bailey Smith. And I actually fielded Seamus Mitchell anyway on the field, so he scored better than both Hunt and Chase Jones. So I think I did the right decision. I avoided the Oliver and Johannesson bullets this week, so I think I'm in a good position to make a decent run for that top, try and get into the top 500 before next week-ish. Need things to go my way. Hopefully Max Gorn decides he actually wants to play football this week. I went to the game on the Friday night and was absolutely abusing him because he didn't want a bar of it. And when he was even up forward, he was getting touched up by Alia. And also while I was at that game, even though I'm a Port supporter, and I love Zach Butters, just seeing him just dominate. And, for the last few weeks, I've avoided getting him because I didn't think he could sustain that high scoring, really making me eat my words, and it kind of hurt a little bit, but that's alright. I think I'm going to stick fat with that because I was also very hesitant on Tom Stewart, and I brought him in very late, and since bringing him in, he's scored 88, 96 and 72 on my team, and I was correct. I didn't think he was going to be a top 6 to 8 defender, and at the moment he's not looking like it. Don't know if that's because of Geelong or if that's because of him, but I'll definitely be keeping my eye on that, and he will probably be looking to leave my team after the buys. Obviously he has a good buy, so I'll be holding him through the buys. Not the same as everyone else, but it's just a bit disappointing I didn't get those scores beforehand, and then I kind of admitted my loss and bring him in, and if I didn't bring him in, I would have been probably winning that trade. But those things happen, and that's one thing I'm definitely learning about this year is if you missed the boat on someone, don't go chasing really, because that's how you end up being behind the comp. And that's why I'm still very reluctant on going Tim English while he is over $1 million. I'm looking to maybe bring him in the buys depending on some other things, but we'll get into that in a minute. So Nick Dacos, 79. I Didn't really watch this game, so I'm not sure what was his deal. Don't know if he got tagged or not. Been a bit slow recently. I think he's still top 6. You know, I always said, even though I started with him, I said I didn't think he was going to keep up what he was producing at the start of the year. So, you know, I've got more out of him than some others because I picked him up for whatever his price was in the first, you know, 154k cheaper than what he is now. Dawson, you know, he's only down game in the last few weeks. He'll be alright. Come against Brisbane this week. You know, tough game, but he loves those tough games, so wouldn't be worried about him. Zebra keeps getting it done. He's looking like he's going to be a top 6 defender. I just spoke about Tom Stewart. James Sicily's back. He's back in his role. Really hoping he can start to put on some big scores now, and that might boost my rank a little bit more, seeing I jumped on him quite a while ago. Haven't really got much out of him so far, which is unfortunate, and I think I bought him in when he was a little bit more expensive than what he is now, but that's alright. Seamus Mitchell, great role. Really loving what he's doing, but I think I'm just going to keep him on the bench for now. I'm going to try and get this last rookie off the field. Last rookie other than Ashcroft and Sheasel, just to focus on my mid prices throughout the buys. But his cash gen has been pretty good. I won't go into Tim Taranto too much. You know, he's going to be the only person on a ton. Well, if he scores 100 this week, he'll be the longest ton run of the year so far, because Oliver's going to be out. Tom Green, I, you know, took a punt on him being captain, and I thought he should have gone bigger than what he did in the end, and, you know, only got me one more point than if I captained Rowan Marshall, which is probably the safer one, so wasn't really worth the risk, I guess. Sarong, he's back. Was a very weird game because Geelong don't normally give up points, but both Sarong and Brayshaw went massive, so not sure what's to go with Geelong. They could end up being a soft matchup in those next coming weeks, so definitely one to have a look at. Connor Rozee was very good in the wet as well. Melbourne do allow a lot of points for midfielders, but he just loves playing at home, Connor. You know, I think he's still going to be top 6. Going to move him back into forward lines eventually. I just got so many forwards and defenders in my team at the moment. Will Day was hard tagged, did well to get to 86. You know, you take that. James Warple should have been in the 90s, but gave away some pointless free kicks. Yeah, I don't know what he's going to be like for the rest of the year, so I'm looking at trading him in a couple of weeks. I might get into that a little bit later. Rory Atkins, you know, he's done the job and he's proved that was a better pick than Fiorini. I think most Fiorini owners will be trying to get rid of him, get rid of Fiorini this week. Meanwhile, Atkins has still got a break even at 31. I mean, could pop a bad score, but hopefully he's alright up until the buy, or at least the back end of the buy, when I've got a few more premiums in my team. Ashcroft doesn't look like he's going anywhere, and probably gonna win the Rising Star Award. I mean, I know Sheasel's been good, but Ashcroft has just been much more effective. Although Sheasel in the guts looked very good on the weekend. But it'll be an interesting one to see. Probably look to move Ashcroft out of my team and the back at the end of the buys as well. Don't think I'm going to do it next week. So, yeah, would suggest most people do that as well. Not going to get into Rowan Marshall too much. You know, that's what he's going to be like all year. That 110 averaging, especially when he's fit. Max Gawn. This one hurts, okay, because he got 66 and it's like, alright, didn't think he had that low of a floor. Thought his floor might have been 70s, 80s, and that's why I traded Grundy to him, and it's just proved to be real sideways and kind of hurting my season. Like, I'm reluctant to go set and forget this year, especially with English, because English has proved to have injury issues. But last year I went set and forget, and I still ended up using so many trades on my rucks because Grundy and Gorn were injured or were just shit. And this year set and forget was the way, so it's so hard to pick. I did some math, and it's like if Witch doesn't get injured and averages the same as what he's done all year, and I don't use those trades, I would be looking to be in the 200s at the moment. Also did some math if I just started with English, because I actually had enough cash round one. I banked like almost 100k round one, just to get me through the next couple of weeks, of trades. So I could have gone English and Marshall to start, and I would be ranked in the 40s. But that's hindsight, and that wasn't my decision. I didn't want English, so I can't sit here and say that what could have been. It's just a bit annoying that Witt's getting injured, because he's actually been pretty solid this year. And he would have had a very good buy. Just that's the way fantasy is sometimes. Not going to sit here and complain too much. I'm in a decent position anyway, so hopefully Max Gorn can pick up. The other annoying thing that I noticed is I think he had a bit more time in the actual ruck. So he scored a shit score and spent more time in the ruck, so I don't think he's going to get DPP now, which kind of messes up my plans for buyers, but just got to wait and see for that one. Josh Dunkley, just Brisbane mids went massive, and their run looks awesome in the next few, so especially after their bye. Get into that a little bit later as well. Errol Gordon, I think he was tagged a little bit, but I don't know why I put the VC on him. I know everyone says North Melbourne give up heaps of points and midfielders actually don't. It was a little bit of a different game because North were competitive, so maybe if he didn't get tagged, he would have gone very big. But yeah, like North actually don't give up too many points. Butters has really been the only one in the last couple of weeks that's gone massive, I think. Especially if you look back at that St Kilda game when it was just chipping around. Still goes 70. Sinclair doesn't do much. Even the North mids don't do much in that game. Brad Crouch doesn't do much. So yeah, just be careful. I just went VC on Goulden because his ceiling has been so high this year, and I wanted to, everyone else was going to VC him, so I didn't want to miss out on 150 VC like I did with Marshall a couple of weeks ago. That was my main reasoning. I didn't really have anyone else to put on other than Taranto, who I thought was going to be just a safe 110 this week, but that's alright. Canelo playing against the Saints. Looked like he was going to go very, very big at the start. Slowed down a little bit in the third. Still, I think he's like flying a little bit on the radar. I think he'll end up being a top 6 forward. Sheasel, spoke about him. He's moved into the guts a little bit, played a little bit up forward with Ratton coaching now. He looked actually very good. Be interesting to see if he can keep on scoring. It is a harder role for rookies to score in, just because it's not like that open chip game style like he was playing in the back lines. Like, he's actually going to have to run more, be a bit more damaging, so his scores might fluctuate a little bit like Ashcroft's have been. Be interesting to see if he's still going to be a top forward or defender, but everyone else is in the same boat, so wouldn't worry too much. I spoke about Hobbs before, 92, couldn't have asked for anything better on debut. Hopefully he just goes 80 plus from here, and I would take that. Bailey Smith, big trade in this week, looked very good. Didn't even have a mark, and it's like if there's anything can happen in Ballarat. I was actually a bit scared about that game. So for him to get 121, I don't know if it was raining there or not, but like he doesn't have a mark. He's going to get marks most weeks. So if he gets 37 again and takes a couple marks, his ceiling's going to be pretty big. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know when Chalor's coming back, but wouldn't be surprised if he averages 100, 105 plus from here on out, which would put him as a top forward, in my opinion. So yeah, hopefully I don't have to trade him out at the end of the buys as well, and he can just stay in my team. Quickly talk about rookies. Campbell Chester going to hold him for one more, see what he does. Didn't look that good, but Eels' side is decimated, so hopefully he gets a bit more of an opportunity. Alvin Davey looked okay again. He went down in price. His break-even's 43. I'm going to try and hold him for a couple more. At least he's playing. Might lose a bit of cash on that one, though. Holland's going to trade him out this week. Get him to a primo. Drury, don't know if he's going to be dropped this week. He's now messed up his cash gen, so hopefully he doesn't. Well, he's not going to lose much cash, really, is he? So might just keep him just for the sake of the green dot. Yeah. Hopefully he can start to put on a little bit more than 14, especially like next week when not next week, round 12, when he's going to be on my field. Luke Pedlar is also going to go this week, I think. His role's actually not that bad, and it was in Ballarat against a very good team. I think he'll be okay. So if you want to hold, I wouldn't put it against you. I think it's time for him to go for me. And Wilmot has kind of restarted his cash gen again, which is good. I think his 22 comes out of his price cycle now, so that's why his break even's gone down. So if he can keep pumping out scores like that, he'll definitely stay on my bench. I mean, if I don't trade him next week, he basically has to stay in my team for the rest of the buys, which I don't mind. I think I can live with that one. Alright, so this is what I'm looking at for next week. I'm looking to trade in Jack Sinclair because I need a round 12 buy player in defence just to round out my team. So I'm going Pedlar, Hollands to Wardlaw and Sinclair with that cash that I banked again last week. My initial thoughts is I wanted to go to Jack Steele, but I couldn't afford Wardlaw and Jack Steele. So then the next best bet was to go for people with round 12 buy was to go Lockie Neal. So I had Lockie Neal in. I've had Lockie Neal in all week, and I've just recently changed it. Because Max Gore might not be getting DPP now. So my plans was to trade in English next week, and have Gorn sitting in the forward. Have Gorn sitting in the forward lines during round 13, during the Gold Coast Geelong bye. But now that I don't think Gorn's going to get DPP, I would rather have a round 12. I think I'd rather have a round 12 defender, so that it just kind of, because I was going to have a red dot on the field otherwise, because I would have had too many. I would have had Campbell Chester playing on the bench or whatnot. Be hard to explain without showing you my actual buy structure. But yeah, I would have had 21 available players rather than 22, and I just want to try and maximise as much as possible. I think Sinclair's gonna still be alright. I was a bit iffy on him before last week, and I'm definitely not chasing the score he pumped out last week because I don't think that's going to happen every week. But I think his run is pretty good. So hopefully he lasts throughout the bye and potentially it lasts longer than that. He's done the numbers before, so I don't think it's too risky. Just wasn't my first option really. Some other options this week for anyone out there, I think Laird is prime for the picking. I don't know what's the deal with if he's still injured or if he's a bit sore still. But if you definitely need a round 14 midfielder, I'd definitely be looking at him or Merritt. I suggested Merritt to one of my mates who's ranked pretty highly. Quite a bit higher than me. He wasn't going to do it, and I persuaded him to do it, and he pops out at 150. Wish it was me, but I'm trying to fix up my buy structure, and I've got a lot of round 14 players, and I needed that round 15 sort of midfielder, which I just chucked Bailey Smith there last week. Other options, I said about Steele, he's very cheap. He's probably, unless he goes massive, he won't go up in price. So I'm looking, even though he's got a soft matchup this week, I'm looking to just hold on him and maybe pick him up after his bye. They've still got a decent little run other than the Lions, even though it's at Marvel. Butters is still there. Butters' run is still very juicy. Like I said, I'm not going to pick him up because that's me admitting that I lost the trade, and if I pick him up, then I've lost points straight away. Just a bit of a mindset thing. Like I said, Lockie Neal, I'm really disappointed I can't go this guy. It would have been a bit risky. He's been up and down. I don't know what happened in this Carlton game. That's one of the Carlton games I didn't watch. But other than that, that outlier, he's gone some pretty good scores. And his matchups over the bye period are very good. Probably, like I said, you could probably what I'm thinking is waiting this week. He might go up 20k-ish. But then he's got the Hawks, Sydney, who don't really give up or don't give up, Saints who give up, Richmond who give up, especially at the Gabba, Eagles who give up at the Gabba, and in Melbourne, we saw what Melbourne with the Port midfielders did last week, and I don't know about Geelong, but Geelong really recently haven't been good, but if they still restrict, then he's still got the Suns, Fremantle, Adelaide, then a hard match-up in Collingwood, then Saints again. It's a very good run to the end of the year, and I think he could be, throughout that period, be a top 6 to 8 averaging midfielder, and at a price like that, I'm really hot on him, but I still, unless it really, really suits your buy structure, which I would have mine, I wouldn't pick up a round 12 premium. I needed one to make all my other weeks right. Yeah. Look, I don't know. It's getting to that time of year where you take these risks on players. If you've got a gut feeling on someone, just go for it. Really. Bailey Dale looks like he might be prime for the picking. Simpkin might be prime for the picking as well, and it's just that time of the year just to take those risks. Really. What have you got to lose? And it's it's not going to hurt you too much because the buys are a very tricky time, and a lot of people mess it up big time. So if you plan right, you could fly up the ranks. I ended up doing it last year. I don't know if I'll try and find the what ranks I was last year, and then what I came out at buys. Going into round 12, I was ranked. So this time last year, I was ranked 4,824, and I had a massive week going into the buys with a round rank of 92. So I jumped up to just under 2,000. I then had another good week, round rank of 570, so jumped up to 1,200. Then stayed around the 1,200 mark, and then jumped up to 724, which actually is what I'm ranked at now. That's pretty funny. And then coming out of the buys, I just kept climbing up since then. I got to about 490, 300-ish. Before I took a few risks at the end of the year and dropped back down to 700s. But yeah, like, this can be a time that, if things aren't going your way, you can still jump up big time. Like, no matter how far back you are, you can, if you're in that 10,000 mark, you can end up getting inside the top 1,000 if you really wanted to. Like, just got to play it right, do the research, and you should be okay. I think that's all I've got to say, and hopefully you guys have another good week this week. There's been some big scores. Definitely haven't had any years that have been this high scoring, so it does make it a little bit hard to jump up in rank, but should be okay. Alright, hopefully be back next week with my ranks a little bit higher. Cheers for listening. See ya.